So this is the session 2 of Introduction to Data Structures and Algorithms, and I am Karan Singh, technical member at DSC, and I have Avinash with me. So we'll be your host today, and we'll be taking the session. And today's objectives are introduction to pointers, introduction to memory allocation, and we'll briefly talk about what heaps and stacks in memory are. So without further ado, let's continue. So, if you guys remember, in the last class, I showed you a memory map, right? Where I explained that how memory is allocated in C++ programs. So basically, what happens is when we declare a variable sum and declare a variable x and declare a variable y, the compiler assigns some memory location to the variables, and we can store values in those variables. This was something that we covered in the last class, and I also told that we have addresses for each of these blocks. Each of these blocks represent 1 byte of memory, and each of them have an address, and we can store data in it, and they are assigned to the variables that are declared in our C++ program. So this is our first operator for today. That is the address operator. Address of operator. So basically, it's an ampersand symbol. What it does is that it returns the address, the exact address in the memory of the variable that we the operand that we use. So I'll actually it's gonna be a tutorial kind of session today. So I'll be sharing my screen, my and I'll be showing you how this exactly works. So right now, just let's just go through the theory, and I'll show how it's done practically. Okay, and what are pointers? So this is the topic. This is the major topic that we are going to cover tonight, in this session. So basically, pointers store the address of variables or a memory location. Let me show you quickly on my Visual Studio Code, and I'll just tell you guys how it's done. Okay, so guys, this is usually how a typical C++ program looks like. We have to first include IOStream file. This is basically input output file, input output stream. We'll cover this later. So this is basically how a typical C++ program looks. And now I'm going to explain you what happens in the memory. So let's say we declare a variable x. So now when I declare this variable x has got some memory allocated in the by the compiler. Basically now it has a location in the memory. Now now suppose I want to see this memory location, the exact address of this memory location. I am going to use the ampersand operator or the address of operator. So this is how it works. Now let me just quickly compile this and show you guys what the output will be. Okay guys, now this is our out. One second, let me just put a end line so that it looks like visually better. Okay guys, so you see this string, this basically is the address, exact address of the memory location of this variable x. This is the exact representation, and we were able to do this by using this AND operator. So this is how the address of operator works, ampersand operator. So basically this is how address of operator works. We'll I hope this slide is clear, like what ampersand operator is and how it works. Basically, I hope this thing is clear till now, that what this thing does. It basically returns the address of the variable, and now we'll look into what pointers are. So as I told, pointers basically are variables that store memory location of different variables. Let me explain you what I mean by this exactly. So let's say I declare a variable int star k. Okay, now what is the meaning of int star? Int star basically means that k is a variable that can store addresses of variables that are of integer type. Let me put that more clearly. Like, let me explain you. So suppose what exactly is happening is that I have declared a variable k, and I have said that the type of this variable is int star. And what this star operator means, that it basically means that this the variable k is a pointer type of variable, and it can store addresses of integer variables. Now this is an integer variable, and this is a pointer that stores uh, integer addresses of integer variables. Okay, so let me show what I mean by this. So if I say k is equal to ampersand x, sorry, what I'm exactly saying is that now the variable k stores the address of x. Okay, I hope this is clear, like what I mean by a pointer variable. Pointer variable is a variable that can store addresses of different variables. So this is the syntax. When I say int star x, I declare a variable x that is a int star type. That basically means it's a pointer variable. And I can similarly declare a normal variable, a regular one, like int a is equal to 5, and I can assign the address of a to x. Similarly, for character kind of variables, we have char star y. Now y is a pointer variable that points to character locations, and we have a, okay, this has to be char, this is a typo, so it has to be char. So char a is equal to, which is being initialized as p, and I can basically store the address of this variable a in y. So this is the same memory map that I showed you guys yesterday, the blocks, the addresses. Okay, so I'll let me explain how pointers are useful and how they are stored in the memory. So let this be a continuation of a memory map, and let these be addresses of the locations. So basically, in our entire memory, we have different types of variables. Like we have to store different types of variables, right? So what a C++ program does, and Avinash will be explaining you this in the later part of today's session, that we have different areas in the memory, and each area is allocated, like certain segments of the memory are allocated for certain data type, where we have to store these data types. Okay, like what I exactly mean is that in these addresses only integer type of variables can be stored, we'll assume that, and in these addresses only integer pointer variables have to be stored. Now mind it that this representation is integer type representation, and as I showed you that basically memory locations are basically represented in this way, right? So this is actually this is hexel form, I guess, and if we can convert it into integer form, it will look something like this. So this is, I basically use integer form to represent it so that it looks like it's more simpler and intuitive to understand. So on this slide, I just want to say that in our memory map, let us consider that this segment of the memory map just stores integer variables, and this part of memory map just stores pointer variables that point to integer locations. Now, what happens when I say int a? When I say int a variable a is created and it is assigned a location in the memory. I explained this yesterday. The memory, one of the addresses, a random block is assigned to the variable a, and now whatever operations we do on this a will reflect in this area. And similarly, when I say int star x, I explained just now that what int star x semicolon means. It means that we are declaring a variable x that is of the type int star. So basically, it will be allotted a address from this area, because I mentioned in the previous slides that this is a area. Sorry, I clicked by mistake. This is the area where integer star type of variables, the pointer variables, will be allotted memory. So when I say int a is equal to 10, the number 10 is stored in the location that is assigned to a. And similarly, when I say x is equal to ampersand a, the address of a is stored in the location of x. This is our a, the address is 1323, and this was our x from the previous slide. A x, and then when I say a is equal to 10, I am storing 10 in this location, and when I say x is equal to ampersand a, the the thing that gets stored in the location that is assigned to x is the address of the variable a. Guys, I just want to know any doubts till now, like, because I know this is a bit tricky concept, and I mean, like, it, like, people can't digest this in just one lecture. Now we are going to see the we're going to the part where I'll explain why pointers are useful. Okay, now I'll open my Visual Studio Code again. So basically, I declared an integer variable. I assigned address of that variable to our pointer k. Now let's say x is equal to 10, and let me see out x. Guys, cout basically means I'm just printing stuff. Okay, it's like printf in C or print in Python. I hope that doesn't confuse you guys. I forgot to mention this earlier, but cout basically means that I am printing out something to the terminal. So let me just run this code. One second. Okay, guys. So I'm printing out the address of x, and I'm printing out what is stored in x. The number 10 has been stored in x. Okay. Now let me show you something interesting. What happens if I print out k? See, I had told that address of x is stored in k. So when I say cout k, I get the same address in the output. Now let's go a step further and print out what's stored in star k. Okay, guys. Our first cout statement, we get the address ampersand x. Next cout statement, we get the number 10, or the value that we assigned to x. Then we get the address again because we printed out k, which is storing the address of x. And after that, when I print out star k, I get the number 10. So this is something that, so this is one of the functionalities of pointer. Now, what pointers exactly help us with is that when I assign a variable to a pointer, when I do this statement, like when I execute this statement, what this basically means is that now k is pointing to the location of x in the memory. So now k is pointing to the location of x in the memory, and when we print out k, we get the address of x in the memory. But when we use the star operator with k, what I get is that the the star operator this is exactly the use of pointers. It basically helps me print the data that is stored in the memory pointed by the pointer. So basically, it's printing the data that is stored in the memory. Which memory location, to be precise? Pointed by the pointer. So basically, k is a pointer. It is pointing to the location of x, and 10 is stored in x. So basically, that is being printed out by star k. And now let me show you one more thing. let's say i let's say I do this thing. Star k is equal to 420, and let me see out x. I'm just clearing the terminal. So now what? Now what? Okay, so let me just run this program. See, guys, I did everything is the same since our previous execution. I what I changed in my program is that I said that star k is equal to 420, and then I printed out x. I didn't say x is equal to 420. I said star k is equal to 420, and I printed out x. And the only change with x that was made was that x is equal to 10. So ideally, x equal to 10 should have been printed, but because I used the star operator with k, which is storing the address of x, we were able to manipulate the data stored in that location, and that location was assigned to x. So therefore that the new data that was stored in x was printed out, and that is 420. So this is the magic of pointers, you know, like you can manipulate the memory. And this is the reason that C++ is so close to the memory is the like is this is the reason why C++ is so fast, because it is so close to the memory that it can literally access the memory and manipulate it. And this is this is the concept of pointers. And let me show you one practical example of where we can use pointers. like I hope till now everything that I've explained is clear. What I explained, star is equal, we had a is equal to 10 stored in the memory, and x is equal to ampersand a. And when I say star x is equal to 420, the number 420 gets manipulated in the location that is been assigned to a. This is exactly what I explained in the program. Okay, before I go to new and delete keywords, I have to explain one small program. And before that, I would like to know if you guys have any doubts. Okay, so I guess Sai Shri Rohit had asked that do we have to download VS Code? Okay, no guys, like VS Code is not the only IDE available. You can use many different IDEs. You can use Sublime Text, but yeah, I guess if you were in 11th and 12th, they that in 11th and 12th we were forced to use this IDE called DOSBox, which is really bad. I mean, don't use that. Except that you can use anything. And yeah, for IDs you can experiment with different IDs. You can you can make changes in the environment, and you can, like, it depends on your taste. Like I like VS Code, so I use VS Code. You can use any other ID. I guess Sublime Text is also good. And if you're on a Linux based system, you can use an IDE called Genie. And if you're hardcore Linux user, then you can use something like Vim or Emacs also. And now Pallavi Thukral is asking, like, for practicing which platform is preferred. Okay, so yeah, so Pallavi Thukral, if you want to practice C++, you can use HackerRank. HackerRank is a great platform for practicing languages, especially for C. Like the questions for C were pretty good. I mean, like, I remember they were pretty good. And if you want to practice competitive programming, then just go to the problem solving section of HackerRank, start doing some questions, and when you get a hang of it, you can move to CodeChef, because CodeChef has a bit harder standard of questions. So they're not beginner friendly, and the interface is also not beginner friendly. HackerRank is like pretty much it's good for people who are starting with who are just starting with competitive programming. Okay, so Pallavi Thukural, you are asking that for learning C++ STL. Okay, so yeah. So before going to STL, I would recommend learning what stacks and queues are, how to implement stacks and queues, how to implement linked lists, and we'll be covering that in future sessions. And after that, you can start using STL. Like we'll have a session on STL too. Don't worry. And like basically, in order to learn STL, you can just practice some questions from the STL section of C++ on HackerRank, and you can refer the documentation available on Geeks for Geeks. So guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a function that will swap the values of our variables. Let me declare two variables, int x comma y, and let me assign x as 10 and y as 20, and we'll be calling swap function to do this. Swap x comma y, like we'll just print our x and y before swapping. and we'll print out swap see out like we'll be printing values of x and y after swapping also. And let me make the swap function. So basically I have like two local variables, int a and int b, which will be getting the values of x and y because I have called x and y in this order. Now let me declare a temporary variable so that this will help us in swapping the values. Okay, so what I will do is I store the value of a in temp. I'll assign a as b, and I'll say that b is equal to temp because this was the value that, because temp stores the value, the original value of a, and after that we manipulated the value of a and we copied b in it. So basically now our a has the value of b and our b has the value of temp, which had the original value of a. So indirectly b has the value of a. Let me just print out let me just print out this stuff in the function itself. I'll say the a is, and b is, I hope, yeah, let me just put an end line. Let me copy this in the, let me change this, and let me use the similar statement for this also without like this. I feel this statement is better because we'll be having this text that A is and B is, so it will be easier for us to read the terminal, the output in the terminal. And this is basically our x, y, x and y. Let me change this also to x because see basically x will be assigned the value of a and y will be assigned the value of b, right? X will be assigned the value of a and y will be assigned the value of b because I am saying swap x comma y. So I'll say x is a and y is b, and let's just compile this program and run it quickly. Okay, so we get, let me just put this space. In fact, I can change this to x and y. It will be easier for you guys to understand what exactly will happen. Okay, we said x is 10, y is 20, and we are printing x is x and y is y. So basically, we're getting x is 10, y is 20. Now I call the function swap. Inside the function, I swap the values of x and y by saying that temp is equal to x, x is equal to y. So basically, I'm assigning the value of y to x, and I'm assigning the value of x to y because I had stored the value of x in temp. So basically, this temp has the value, previous value of x, the original value. So we have basically swapped our x and y, and when I print out x is x, I get x is 20, and when I say y is y, I get the value of y as 10. Now this is something that we desired, right? We wanted to swap the values, but after calling the function, when I say cout x and cout y, I get the original values back again, 10 and 20. Now this is because we didn't change the, because basically what happened was that this value of x and y that was created was local to this function, and therefore the this manipulation that we didn't really reflect in the memory location of x and y. In order to overcome that, we'll use pointers. Okay, now what I will do is I'll change this to int star x, int star y, and I will pass the address of x and address of y. So now what I'm doing is that I'm creating a local variable to this function, which is a pointer type of variable which will store the value of x, and a local pointer type of variable that will store the address of y. And then what we will do is we'll create an integer temp. We'll assign this as star x because star x basically refers is basically pointing to the data that is present in the location that is being pointed by this pointer, and we similarly make the changes, and this too. One second. Now when I execute this program, everything is same till this point, right? We created x, assigned x equal to 10, assigned y is equal to 20, printed x equal to 10, y is equal to 20, went into the function, changed the, we did the swapping operations, which said x is equal to star x and y is equal to star y, and basically we got the desired result. And even after swap, after the function call, we have the values of x changed. Okay, so this is, so this is the use of pointers. Basically, we were able to manipulate the values of x and y in memory, even though even with the help of local variables. This is the advantage of pointers, and we'll be using pointers a lot in data structures. If you want, I can have one more session on pointers. Actually, I will have one more session on pointers where I'll explain you new and delete keyword. I guess this session will not be sufficient to cover this new and delete keyword right now, because already the pointers topic is so is heavy, right? So we'll move on to the next part of the session. I will cover this new and delete keywords in the next session. Okay, guys. I feel that this session was pretty heavy because pointers is a new topic to many of you, and it's it can't be digested in just one go. So we'll move to the next session, and now Avinash will be taking over and he'll be explaining you guys what processes are. Thank you guys.
So now let's have a brief look on what happens after we complete the code and then whenever we are going to execute that code. So when we run a program, it gets converted into a process. So what exactly is a process? To putting it into simple terms, we write programs in a particular file, and when this gets executed, the program gets stored from usually the program file is stored in the secondary memory, that is the SSD or the HDD storage. And whenever we run it, the file gets transferred in the form of a process into the RAM, and it gets divided according to different categories the code contains. So as Karan said earlier, while memory allocation, there will be several sections for different parts of the code. So let's have a look at it now. Okay, so before we go into the memory, first let's go to the part where we run the file, and then so the normal code, this is a sample code printing hello world. So first we'll use the g++ command to run it. So basically what we are doing is compilation, and it converts to a binary executable file. And then when we use dot slash for running the binary files, and when we run them, it gets converted to a process and gets stored in the RAM. Okay, so now process memory map. So in this section, as you can see, this is a sample code for taking two values and then printing the sum of those two numbers. And on the right side, as you can see, this is the part, this is a particular process, and it is divided into different sections such as stack, heap, data, and text. So this, the complete memory, the complete size of this process is varies according to the particular OS. For if you're using Linux, so this maximum size can be different compared to when if you're using Windows. Okay, so now let's go through the code. So the first section is stack. So what stack does it? It uses this area. We mostly store the normal variables that we declares. Here, as you can see, the num1 and num2 integers are declared here. So these integers, and if we take another program also, all the integers or characters or whatever data type variables we have created, those will get stored in the stack section. And then we have the data section. So data section is usually for variables that are global variables or static variables. So what are global and static variables? As you can see, int num3 equals to 10. So there is a difference between other variables that are stored. The first one is that we have already assigned a value to it. And the second difference is that this these two variables are stored in the main block, whereas the num3 is stored outside these two blocks. So the num3 can be accessed from inside both these blocks, whereas the num1 and num2 cannot be accessed outside this block. So basically, when we are creating a global variable, it can be accessed from anywhere from the code. And coming to the static variables, The static variables are those variables in which we initially assign a value, and those value don't change for the throughout the program. Like if we put the static keyword first, static space int space num3 equals to 10, then the value of num3 would be 10 for the whole program. Even if we try to change the values, it won't affect. Then the value will be same 10 only. And the next section comes the text section. The text section stores the data about different instructions, like the normal C out instructions or the C in for input instructions, or the different statements such as addition or subtraction that we are conducting. All these data are stored in the text section. And one more thing I would like to add is that in the stack section, other than variable declaration, we also store the function calls as well. So if we go into the complete code and check, the stack section will contain this integer num1, num2, and this function call as well. So next we have the heap section. I'll be explaining this in the second program. The heap is usually used for variables that are dynamically declared. So there are two types of variables that are declared. First is normal declaration, and second is the dynamic declaration. So the difference is that these variables such as int num and num2 are allotted before the program starts running, and the dynamically allocation works whenever the program comes to a particular line where it is declared. Okay, so now let's go to the next program. Okay, so this is another program of calculating the factorial. This is the function for a factorial calculation, and it consists of recursion. So let's go into the main program, the main function. And that we have declared a normal variable n and then a pointer m. We take the input, and then here comes the dynamic allocation. We use the function malloc function to dynamically allot memory to the variable m. M is actually a pointer. So, and then we call the function. So now let's go on to this side. In the stack section, what do we have? As you saw in the previous program, the stack section stores the variable declarations and the function calls. So here I have not included drawn lines for everything. So let's see. The first one is integer n and star m, and the second line will be the function call of factorial n m. These two will store in stack, and apart from that, in this function also, the function call of factorial a minus 1 comma b will get stored in the stack section. And now let's go on to the heap section. So as I said, dynamically allotted variables will be categorized into heap section here. So a variable m will be stored in this section. And as said, the data section will store the global variables and static variables. So here we have the global vars is equal to 0. It's global, so it can be accessed from any of these blocks. And the text section where we have the normal instructions such as cout. Okay, so now let's go on to VS Code. Okay, so this is the same code that I showed right now. All right, so yeah, so as I said, let's first go to the part where, all right, so here we are using the g++ command for this, the test.cpp file which contains the factorial function. So when we run this command, as you can see, there is a.out file. This actually a binary file. This is the default name of all the binary files that gets created when we compile a C++ file. And we can also rename it accordingly, because as there is another command, if we put -o and if I place it as binary. So as you can see, there is another binary file named binary. So if we use the command of /binary, this will execute this binary file. So right now this is just a compiled program in the form of binary format. So as soon as I run this command, this program converts into a process and gets stored in the RAM. So now the program is running, and right now, as I said, the integer declarations have been get divided into the stack section and this in the heap section, and accordingly others as well. So we'll just run the command and okay, so factorial 6. Okay, so now one more thing that I would like to add is that size of. As you can see, we are declaring an integer star pointer and malloc for dynamically allocation and size of int. So this size of int means we are categorizing and saving it the format size of an integer. So if I print this C out and save it, so yeah, and now if I run the code again, okay, so if I run this code, now it's showing 4. This is the input and this 4. So what exactly is 4? So this is the integer size. So here we have 4 bytes is the size of an integer. This will give 4 bytes to m. And one other part is that if we remove the star and then we run the program again, okay, again we give 5. Oh, now it's giving 8. So why exactly is it giving 8? Because star m denotes the data that is stored and m denotes the address. So for all variables or like in memory, whatever data type is it, uh, the memory address is an 8-byte address. So if we give size of m, it's actually giving the size of the address. So it's 8 bytes. All right. So guess that's it for.
Okay, so I would like to clarify one thing that when Avinash said malloc, you showed the slide, right? About malloc and calloc. I mean, Avinash, can you open the slide?
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, yeah. So can you just like use your pointer to point towards the yeah? So that malloc thing, it's basically new operator. Like malloc is basically a function from the C language, and we'll be using new function that I was about to cover today, but I felt that it will take a lot of time, and then because pointers is a bit difficult topic, so this thing will be covered in the next session. What malloc is and what new operation new is, and that is exactly what dynamic allocation is. So except that, if you guys have any doubts, you can ask right now, and
So, few days back, I came across something in which it said that in the stack, basically, the whole function is there. Like the function and all its data is stored in the stack. What is he talking about? This data separate? He's talking about some data division of the memory. What's this? I don't get this.
okay.
Yeah. So the data division is specifically for the global variables and static variables.
One second, I'll just open a diagram and explain it to you, Goiban.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Goiban, can you see the stack diagram?
Yes, I can.
So basically, what a stack is, when you push something uh, into the stack, you can push more stuff on it, and it keeps going under and under, right? And when you pop something out, the thing that was added at the thing that was added, the last will come out, will be the first to come out. Basically, last in, first out. Okay, people, stack is a data structure which will be covered in this course. So don't worry if you don't understand what stack is. So Doiban, so basically it is something known as last in, first out, or basically LIFO. Now you said that all the functions are stored in the stack and all the data is stored in the stack, right?
Yeah,
That
I did.
Yes. So what happens is, in each cell of the stack, whenever you come across a function, now the we are talking about a stack that is in the memory. So basically, in each cell of the stack, we store the data on all the variables and all the metadata of the function in one cell. And when we go to the next function, suppose there's a function called from one function to another function, then we push this current function into the stack, and we go to, and then we add one more function on top of it. And when we complete stuff in that portion, we just pop it out and basically come back to our previous function. I'll have to explain it with a diagram. I'm not sure if you are able to understand this, but we will cover this topic in recursion.
Okay, one more thing about stack. So is this memory thing physical, or is it just like we've put code so that it works this way?
See, operating system is basically like, what is our operating system? Operating system is an interface between our hardware and applications, right? Now, in order to manage those applications, we require to manipulate and store data, and for doing that, we have various data structures. So basically, our memory is also a resource, and we have to manage it. In order to manage it, we have to apply certain rules, and like, we have to apply different kind of rules in order to be able to manage it according to different situations. And that is why we have these things like stacks or heaps. So basically, these two are different data structures. And basically, stack is, so data structure itself, it's not physical. It basically is controlling how the memory is being utilized as a resource. It's not physical, it's basically a way of the operating system to allocate memory. I hope you get it. It's the implementation, it's an implementation, it's not physical in nature. It's something of an implementation, the way the operating system has been written.
Understood.
Thanks for joining. Have a nice day.